That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, doing another movie review. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about the 2019 film After Midnight, a Shudder exclusive. I'm glad it popped up. It's one that I had heard about because it's tied to Jeremy Gardner, somebody whose work I kind of appreciate. I don't know. I've only seen now 2 out of his 3 films. He did this. He did Tex Montana Must Survive, and he also wrote and directed a film called The Battery, which is a pretty good zombie film. I want to review it for this channel as I haven't seen it in quite a while and remember liking it a lot. To me, zombie films can be fairly formulaic and thus boring, and I recall liking The Battery a lot, and at this time I don't really recall why, besides his character work and it focusing more about the people than a bunch of goofball zombies. Though there was some pretty goofy stuff in there if I remember. I don't know. Time for a revisit. The point is, we're talking about After Midnight. Exclusive to Shudder. Let's go into what it is about. Well, according to IMDb, when his girlfriend suddenly disappears, leaving a cryptic note as her only explanation, Hank's comfortable life and his sanity begin to crack. Then, from the woods surrounding his house, something terrible starts trying to break in. So, basically our lead, Hank, played by Jeremy Gardner, his waifu, his girlfriendo, leaves him, and a creature comes around the house, stalking him and trying to break into his house. Now, one thing I like is you instantly probably think, oh, they've got to be related somehow, and I'm not going to spoil it, whether they are or they're not. But there's some neat surprises there. And this movie does something that I like in a lot of indie films, really, is to kind of set a mood and stew in it. This guy's dealing with his GF, his IRL GF leaving him. And he's just kind of mopey, but also in extreme panic defense mode from this thing. It doesn't all take place over the course of one night, which I think is great. This is a very easy setup for a bottle film, and thankfully it doesn't quite do that. It does kind of go over the course of a few days, and he goes to his bar where he sees his friend Wade, played by Henry Zabrowski. I believe he's on Last Podcast on the Left. He sees the town sheriff, Shane, played by Justin Benson, who directed Spring with his partner Aaron Moorhead. And Jeremy Gardner, our lead in this, was also in Spring. And also Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead produced this film as well. So there's some interesting strings to follow there. But anyway, so you do kind of go with him over the course of a few days while he's fighting this monster. And thankfully, this doesn't do the whole, is this real? Is this in his head? Blah, blah, blah. This is very much a real threat, and you're sort of wondering the origin. And I like that a lot. I like the creature effects, too. I think they're pretty good. I think this movie should date pretty well. And what I mean by that is, this shouldn't look old in 2 years by the creature effects. It looks really cool. Really, my only problem with this movie is the last 10 minutes or so. This, like I mentioned earlier, this movie kind of stews in itself, and you get moody with him, and you're feeling the ups and downs as he remembers the good parts of the relationship, and he's sort of dealing with heartbreak and loneliness. And then the last 10 minutes just feel so silly and ridiculous that it just kind of bummed me out that I was enjoying so much of the ride over, and then you get there. And I guess it's true what they say, that it's the journey and not the destination, at least in the case of this movie, because that's what it was to me. It just gets so ridiculous. There's I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil this one, but it's just tonally off to me in what's... But yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. It's just a little off to me. And I like the evenness in tone throughout so much of this film, and I love what it's doing. I love when indie films do this. Any films really is. You set that mood, and you sit in it, and you just experience that with them. I don't know if there's a term for that. You just live in that ambiance. Like, you ever have those quiet moments alone, and you're just sitting there in your room, and you're thinking, and there's something... Cinematically, it looks boring, but I feel like it does create some kind of bond with the audience when you experience that in movies. Somebody who I always think does that pretty well is someone like Nicholas Winding Refn. I like when his films, I think, are really good at sort of brooding. And that's one thing this film kind of does well, is just let you be there with the character. And I think that does quite a lot. So it's very odd to have this tonal shift, in my opinion, in that last 10 minutes of just, let's get a little silly, let's get a little bonkers. But it is worth a watch. You get some cool creature effects, and I like Jeremy Gardner's performances a lot. I kind of wish he was in more things. He's got a pretty good back catalog of films he's been in, but I do hope he makes more movies. Now, Arrow has released this only in the UK. I don't know much about a Blu-ray release out here. I do know that when Arrow did release this, they released it in a 2-pack with the battery. I almost regret not pulling the trigger. I almost did insta-buy this because I did buy the battery just based on buzz alone, and it didn't let me down. This does a little bit. I don't know if I would revisit this one, but I'm glad I watched it. I do kind of like films like this. This feels like something more personal, something more than just, hey, I've got a pretty neat idea for a story. This does feel like, hey, I'm dealing with something, or I've dealt with something, and this is me channeling that. So it's nice to have horror films that feel kind of personal every once in a while on a deeper level. I always appreciate that in almost any work that I experience. So maybe you're the same, maybe you're not. I don't know. If you've seen this, of course, let me know what you think in the comments, and I always want to hear what you think. But anyway, I am your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that is just too long for Twitter. So, thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.